There is a fifth dimension.
A dimension of sound.
Damn it, Frank! We tell him to be quiet. I spilled my hot cup of Uranus again.
A dimension of sight.
Hey, Arch. I'm gonna sock you in the puss.
A dimension of mind.
Man, Adams, is that you?
Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
Speaking of blue skies not working for people, I guess we can talk about From Agnes with Love on the Fifth Dimension of Twilight Zone podcast, the greatest podcast ever known by man.
I want you to start right there with the podcast. Like, I want you to start at the exact point being like, oh, speaking of blue skies, talk about the... I want there to be no... Somehow. I know. Well, I hope you don't include everything else before this and just, like, start it there.
That would be hilarious, actually. Maybe I will do that. I'm always trying to find a starting point.
Segue as
True.
a segue.
See,
I'm just gonna...
define blue skies? What were we talking about?
Blue skies.
What is the name
What's
of
that song? When they sing
Well,
about
let
blue
it be
skies?
nothing but blue skies. Do I
Agnes.
see?
From Agnes with Love.
This is going places. You know,
I'm
what I
not
watched
sure that
the other day?
Agnes would really appreciate the blue skies.
Probably not. I mean, it might make it a little rusty. Might be a little upset by that.
She's a machine.
Yeah. Put her
What
in the
is she?
cave with the old
The
man.
machine.
Where's
Hey, I suggested that she should go date the War Games machine.
Well, the world would be nuked in like 3 minutes, man.
where
I mean,
is
he
the
would be nuked in 3
Wikipedia?
minutes.
Did you say Wikipedia?
Yeah, Wikipedia. That's on the
What?
internet.
What the fuck is Wikipedia?
It's in Australia along with the Wiggles.
there
I
it
guess.
And their fruit
From
salad.
Agnes with Love. Wikipedia.
What is happening? I don't even now. I don't. You can tell it's episode 140 because I have no idea what's happening.
You know, we can always redo the intro. It's okay.
No, we're keeping it. It's staying in. Fuck it. It's live. It's staying in.
Oh,
Yay!
cut that.
We would be the
long time, man. Long.
Hey, you guys want a really weird story about the main character or the main guy in this?
Yes.
So apparently he was a childhood friend
Allegedly.
of Marlon Brando, and when Wally Cox died, he actually he was cremated, and Marlon Brando took possession of his ashes and said he was gonna throw them out over the sea, but he actually kept him in his closet and talked to him all the time.
That sounds like a
That's not.
Marlon
That's
Brando
so
thing to me.
sad.
That's just weird.
I was sad's not the word I'd
Aw.
use. Fucking
Well,
weird's the word I'd
people
use.
grieve differently, man.
That's
That's just
Marlon
the
Brando
not me
grieves
being
in
like,
weird ways.
not me being like, oh my god, that's so that really is just like
You're so
a
sweet.
tragic story. And then Jake's being like,
Oh,
that's
fuck.
fucking weird. Who does that?
Hang on.
All right, okay. So, anyways, we're back to talk a new episode of the
Agnes.
Twilight Zone. Rod Serling's famous TV series that he decided to
Woo-woo.
go into a Jacob's favorite place of sex and computers and rock and roll.
What?
Yeah, I don't
I mean, yeah.
Are you talking about the right episode?
know. Yeah, of course. This
I mean, you
we're
know,
talking
I mean,
about
this
Black Leather
isn't Rocky
Jackets,
Horror
aren't we?
Picture Show, you know.
I wasn't,
mean-
I wasn't on board when you first started that sentence. But as it went on, I said, let's go on this journey together.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
Jake
right?
does like joysticks.
Waggle your joystick.
He likes Russian computers,
Russian computers.
Yeah, the computer
Is that
said
where
yeah,
I get
yeah.
my Russian mail order brides?
Oh, good lord!
Exactly.
God.
Okay, so
I don't know that the microphone in that episode was pretty phallic, so it works.
Well,
Yeah.
Stood erect.
Erectus Connectus. Okay,
Sure.
so
Mhm.
the Fifth Dimension, a Twilight Zone podcast, is a podcast where we talk about things and places and people and that inhabit the Rod Serling universe. Today, we're getting into an episode that I don't know if you guys like. I think it's a very audacious episode for something that came out in the 1960s. Something that I was not expecting the Twilight Zone to do, but is a very sexually charged episode. Pretty crazy for something I was not expecting. I also wasn't expecting a comedy either when I went into this episode, so that kind of tells you that I don't remember this episode very much. But we're going to be talking about season 5, episode 20, the 140th episode of the Twilight Zone, called "From Agnes with Love," directed by once again Richard Donner, written by Bernard C. Schoenfeld. Production code 2629, air date Valentine's Day 1964. Stars Wally Cox, Sue Randall, Raymond Bailey, and Ralph Taeger. All right, so "From Agnes with Love" is a interesting one that I don't know if it's good or not. Like I said, it has the audacity to go places I was not expecting, but we'll find out if you guys liked it. So with that said, Alex, you're back. Welcome back as always. Welcome back with these
Thanks.
2 other people. What are you doing?
Is that real?
Yeah.
Jacob, that's crazy. Okay, they had to know what they were doing with that, right?
Oh yeah.
There's
This
no way.
was the late 80s to early 90s.
Yeah.
Good God.
You know what? That checks out. Did this come out on Valentine's Day though?
Hmm. What, the joystick?
No, like the advert.
Maybe. Anyway, sorry to derail things for a moment there.
I'm
Get
trying to
focused
figure
on
out why I'm
something.
so bright on the
You make them go when they shoot across the sky.
God.
Aye.
Oh, I thought you were doing a Master P thing.
It was that or I was thinking of what is it, the Katy Perry song that she gets run over by a steamroller and then she inflates herself back up. Like Woman's World.
Yeah, something like
It sounds like
that.
Keefer and
Yeah.
Roger Rabbit to me.
Yeah.
Well-
She's to be married to Russell Brand.
Oh, dude.
She was. Yeah. But now she's married to Orlando Bloom.
Is she?
Really?
I didn't
Well,
know that.
y'all didn't know that?
No.
Well, I feel like when you said that, I feel like I did, but I forgot, but I don't know.
Yeah, they have
I could be having
I'm
like
pretty sure
deja vu.
they have at least one kid together.
Oh, good to see that Orlando Bloom finally got off that boat,
Which boat?
the pirate ship.
Or
He was on that pirate ship for a
Oh,
long
yeah.
time.
He
or are
was
they
stuck
not in a
there.
relationship anymore?
Okay, so anyway, so "From Agnes with Love." From Agnes with Love.
Sounds like a James Bond movie.
It does. It sounds like it has like a computer that is like sassy and apparently wants love in all the, robot places or all the
But does
I
she
don't know.
provide snoo or does she is the punishment for not having sex with those related to her snoo snoo?
I
What's
mean,
snoo
she Oh.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Alex, you gotta watch Futurama.
confirmed.
Futurama.
Can
No,
you
that's
please
okay.
define it here? I don't know.
That's okay. No, Futurama kind of it riffs off of a lot of pop culture things made
Mhm.
by the same guy that did The Simpsons.
Mhm.
It takes place in 3020 or something like that. Basically, this guy sleeps 1,000 years, goes into the future. But they take like storylines from Twilight Zone and all over the place. And the one that they do is with the old man in the hill or the old man in the mountain, where you've got like the computer that kind of leads the people. Only it's voiced by Joan Rivers. And
Oh, that's awesome.
the anytime men come onto this land because it's dominated by women, the punishment is snoo snoo, which is basically sex until you die.
Yeah, Amazon Women of the Moon.
Mm.
Where
basically.
is this? Oh, yeah, that was Amazon Women from the Moon. Great movie.
Yeah.
Should watch it. The Zucker brothers.
Was that
R.I.P.
Zucker Brothers?
Yeah, I think.
Interesting.
No.
I don't know.
Was it? Or
I've
was
never
it-
watched it. When you said Zucker Brothers, I'm like, I didn't know that was Zucker Brothers. So
No, they did the Kentucky Fried Movie. I don't know if they did Amazon Women from the Moon. Because
I think it was John Landis.
It says,
actually.
yeah, it's John Landis because it says directed
Yeah.
by Alan Smithy, but that's like a joke.
Yeah. Well, on one of the other episodes, it's not like it may be inspired by it, but there's another Futurama episode where the Planet Express ship, which is the ship that they ride around in because they're in the future, falls in love with this robot who's kind of a wisecrack and smartass robot, and then stalks him. But she's a giant ship, so it's really hard for her to, hide from him and stuff. But anyway. So
I see.
And that, my friends, was the Futurama Talk corner.
The
Yes.
Futurama video game on PS2 and Xbox is worth like $250.
That
I
is
have no
Thanks
idea
for
why.
sharing.
It doesn't make any sense, but that's the world.
nothing makes sense in the world of video games, Jacob. Okay, so from Agnes with Love, I don't know how you guys feel about comedy in the Twilight Zone. Alex, I'll start with you.
Thanks
I
so much.
You're welcome. As always, you're very, very welcome. Uh, so comedy in the Twilight Zone, how do you feel about it? Like the episodes that you've seen that they've leaned into comedy, do you enjoy it? Do you think it's like poorly done? Like, how do you feel about that?
I'm so glad you asked. And asked me first. I think as far as the comedic tone the Twilight Zone does sort of take on occasion, I
Yeah.
would say those episodes tend to be more 50-50 with me personally. Like there are quite a few that I actually think are quite fun and that are worth rewatching, but I know at least for me it's definitely up to personal preference. Like at least for this one, I was like I understood the comedic tone, at least for how the plot sort of unfolds, but it also could have been taken in a more serious route too, and I think maybe I might have appreciated it more, maybe, but I mean it's kind of to each their own with that, but I think it's interesting too, at least with the comedic tone, at least from what I can recall with like episodes like The Bard or Rance McGrew, is that it's really this the sound design and the soundtrack that mainly distinguishes it between being more comedic versus dramatic, which I find pretty interesting. At least in this episode, I didn't really know exactly what the tone was until the soundtrack really started kind of come like
When he was
sort of
following that guy down the
yeah,
hall.
became like a bit more like prominent towards towards the point where there was that narration that came in, at least to me personally. So I do think that's something that I wanted to at least point out, where I do wonder if they changed the actual like music in the episode, if that would have maybe changed my perspective on the premise that they were deciding to take on. Anyone can go next, by the way.
Yeah, I was waiting for someone to go.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's been kind of established that I lean into the comedy, the more goofy and lighthearted episodes of the Twilight Zone. They don't always work. For every Martians are due on, or sorry, not Martians. The real Martian, please stand up, or
The real Martian, please stand up on
yeah,
Main Street
Yeah, that's a good one too.
while drinking a
or
juice in the hood.
yeah, or most unusual camera. For every one of those, there is
Mhm.
like, what is it, Horace, the Imaginary World of Horace Ford, whatever that one's called.
Yeah,
Um,
close enough.
yeah, one's like that. So it does run the gambit of what works and what doesn't as far as comedy goes.
Yeah.
Um, and I think too, just the fact we're looking on it from such a distance does make a difference as well. But I appreciate the fact that they're willing to step outside the box and take what could be just a straight anthology series, and that they do go outside the box. They attempt, they did westerns, they did sci-fi, they did horror, they did drama, they kind of did the whole nine yards. So for to step outside the box and to try comedy, because comedy, contrary to what people think, is very difficult. So this one hit on some levels and it didn't on others. And I don't know with the time, like contemporarily, if it would have been considered better than the way we see it now, or if it was played just as goofy then as it does now. The music definitely influences, like going in, you kind of say, okay, there are some goofy elements, but then you get the music and it kind of slaps you across the face like a fish.
The music's
So.
music's horrible. Like I'm gonna straight out admit, I can handle like the really upbeat, goofy songs every once in a while, but this is like I don't know. It completely takes the tone like out of whack, makes it kind of like a Laurel and Hardy or something. I don't know what's going on, but
Weirdly, you say that because the music that's behind it is, I think it's called the Cuckoo Song, but that was traditionally known as one of the key pieces for Laurel and Hardy.
no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Uh, Jacob, comedy, Twilight Zone, thoughts, any?
Funny shit, yeah. Oh man, like when the Twilight Zone does comedy, I mean, I find it generally enjoyable. Like most unusual camera and what's the baseball player one?
Oh, Mighty Casey.
Yeah, Mighty Casey. One
Mhm.
of the first episodes that everybody said was so terrible, which I kind of enjoyed. Which says something, I guess. Rance McGrew, I didn't really care for that much. I didn't like hate it, but I didn't find it as comical. But like those two in particular, and the one, the Dingle, Mr. Dingle the Strong. Is that what it
Hmm.
is? Whatever.
Yeah.
I thought those were all pretty funny. I think this one, it doesn't quite go for the ukes as much as those do, but it has its moments. Like in the beginning when he's like walking right behind the guy and he turns around and he does that classic Laurel and Hardy kind of like
Mhm.
thing and all that. And I
Yeah.
thought that was funny. The rest of it was kind of, I don't know. It's almost like they didn't want to fully commit to it being a comedic episode. Like the other episodes that are comedic episodes, it's clearly
Mhm.
it was written that way and they shot it that way. This one, it's like they were like, hey, maybe we're funny. Maybe we're like, let's shoot it this way so we could make it funny with the music or the tone later, or we could make it, I don't know about serious, but a little bit less funny. I don't know.
That's a good point.
It's funny parts. I mean, they were enjoyable, but I don't think it was as funny as like some of the other ones. Like the Most Unusual Camera is probably the best funny episode.
I will say just because of the way like they played the slapstick, at least with the secretary in the hallway, I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't. And again, maybe they shot everything else serious and then they added those moments in to kind of go the more funny route. But I don't know that I can think that it was written to be serious
I don't
just
think it
because
was
of
written to
some
be
of the
serious.
slapsticky.
I'm just wondering if they were hesitant to go full comedy because I think most of the comedic episodes have kind of gotten a bad rap. Like every
I
time
would
we watch a
agree.
comedic episode, everybody's like, "Oh, this is one of the bad ones." I'm like, "Well, I liked it, but whatever."
I think it's
This
just because those dramatic, more like here's a twist kind of episodes. I think they're just so captivating that that's what people expect from the Twilight Zone. So when it does decide to like sort of switch gears and sort of divert for that from that, I can see people who have that held on to expectation of what the Twilight Zone is, maybe not necessarily admiring those episodes or maybe going in with that expectation and being like, oh, this isn't like the other episodes. Like, I don't really like the vibe.
Yeah,
But I mean, as kind of what's been said here, it's like I do agree that kind of having an occasional episode that's a bit more lighthearted and goofy, I think is can still be a lot of fun and still offer sort of similar takeaways that those dramatic episodes do, even as far as like commentary or just with, entertaining elements in it. But, it's to each their own.
Yeah, the what's great about this episode though is how it
excuse me.
stereotypes nerds in the day, like in the 80s, 60s. It's like, you look at today and most of us are huge nerds. We're these kind of people. We love, stuff and things like video games or Disney or whatever, and it's funny to watch a character like this who that makes this episode feel so of its time. Like today this would be like it'd be a little bit different, or it would have to be set in the 60s because this guy would be kind of how we are today, just a little more exaggerated, which I thought was kind of funny in a lot of respects because he's a guy who's a poor schmo. He's a guy that's a nerd. He's a very much into computers. He's very much into technology, and they don't necessarily make fun of him for it. But it's interesting to see him kind of try to get a date with a woman, and that goes poorly wrong, and try to, keep this computer under control. Who clearly has an infatuation for him, which leads into the idea of AI, which is now a thing. So it's
Can we
both
talk about
prescient and
Millie?
very much of its time. What's that?
Can we talk about Millie?
Millie Bobby Brown?
No, wasn't that her name, Millie? The chick
Yeah,
he was
Yeah.
trying to... Yeah,
Yeah.
she's hot. I was like driving and I was like, man, wow, she's really attractive.
Don't watch the Twilight Zone
Um,
and Drive, by the way.
Just wanted to
Just a
put that
yeah.
disclaimer.
out
Apparently,
there.
when you think the chick's hot, or the
I don't know.
lady's hot.
I mean, I don't know like her name or anything in real life, but like, yeah, she's pretty hot. Just saying.
with or without glasses.
Both. Both. She got like that nerd chic thing going on with the glasses, and without, it's kind of like,
But she doesn't. She
Saucy.
doesn't seem like the nicest of people, or maybe it's really weird how she's clearly trying to get in the sack with this guy, but
She's
he's like,
not that
I'm
kind of
gonna
girl.
teach you about radion or whatever he's
No,
talking
they just
about.
wanted a kiss in the dark. That's it.
Yep.
Nothing
He's
more.
like,
Yeah.
Nope.
no, none of that. We're gonna talk about science.
What was it?
I
There
don't
was
know.
a book around Einstein. Was it like
Yeah.
Einstein and
Yeah.
relativity?
She's
I was
like,
like,
I want to learn about.
it's like the most like if I were to think of a scenario that was like pre Sheldon Cooper that gave off like Sheldon Cooper vibes, it's exactly that to me.
That's what
Like
made
it's that
that.
kind of like socially awkward, like sort of like not necessarily like self-aware sort of like interactions where you're just looking at how the guys, I mean, then again, it's like he's very focused and hyper fixated on something that he's very interested in, which is totally fair. I
Yeah.
mean, he makes a living out of it, so it's like if he wants to live and breathe that, then that's fine. But I think it's just kind of interesting to see almost a sort of like narrow divergence in him when he's just so much more fixated on just trying to engage in like what he's reading in the book and trying to have her engaged in it as well when it's like she clearly, was there for like a dinner and then some.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I think that is kind of interesting to sort of see how, even with like what otherwise would be maybe like a very typical social dynamic where there would be those expectations between, I guess in this case, it would be like the man and the woman and that sort of thing as far as like dating. I think it's just something to take note of, I guess, in how he is more like, I guess, self-centric in that moment versus trying to necessarily like look out for this, or maybe even needing Agnes to be given sort of social cues and advice because he otherwise doesn't really know how to engage in a relationship. Whereas like engaging in computer programming is something that has a better full understanding of, and it just makes sense to him.
Oh, definitely.
He wants to engage in something.
Well, I think
What does he want to engage with?
If she wants to.
Oh,
He
she
wants to
wants
talk
to.
about Einstein and shit. How
So what
big
does she want to engage with, Jacob?
the D.
It's
Trying to be like, classy with the ladies here on the stream.
Jacob. I didn't bring you on to be classy. Damn it! Come on now.
The one time he tries
You
to
wanted
be is
that
like the
big.
most like the most like flirtatious type episode we've had so far, arguably.
She
It
wants to
was
know
a sexy
about.
episode in parts. Like he even says the word.
He's a sex
He even
fiend.
says sex.
He's
That's a
like,
sex
man,
fiend.
he's such a sex fiend. I'm like, all right, I guess we're going here for an episode. Like, I honestly, I know it was the '60s, and the '60s were very, of the time when it came to like sexual revolution and stuff like that. But I was not expecting, Twilight Zone to
Not on
have like,
TV.
well, I didn't expect Twilight Zone to have sexual innuendo jokes and a computer hitting on a guy, and it's just very different. But it's
Well,
directed by Richard Donner, so I mean, how do you? I don't know. It's
When
very
I
It's a
watch
very
these
Valentine's Day
shows,
episode for sure.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
when I watch these episodes, I think I inadvertently put myself in that 1960s headspace. So when like somebody says like the word sex or talks about sexy and stuff like that, I'm like, did he say sex? Oh my God.
Well,
You
actually,
said the
though,
word.
you look at
Put
movies
the
of
kids
this
to bed.
from the perspective of movies. You actually do look at this time period. You had Doris Day and Rock Hudson, or variations thereabout. They did have a lot of like those kind of sex comedies where the innuendos were like off the chain.
Yeah, but that wasn't like network TV.
Fair point.
Network
But that
TV,
would
they're
still.
like, no.
But Doris Day was considered to be like one of the most like innocent stars of the time. So from that perspective, I mean, it's not network TV, but it is in that realm of that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So
Well, I mean, but
Early
there are
shock
things like,
humor.
kind of.
well, there's things like, would you like to drive my little bug, or you're a good shape, or as
You're in
long
good
as you
shape.
don't cut on a closed territory here. It's like I almost feel like they're trying to test the waters on how the what are those people
Oh,
called? The
censors?
FCC? Yeah, the censors, if they'll recognize that what they're doing, because it feels like they're really trying to stretch the limits of what they can say and how they can say it by being creative. I don't know.
And
Maybe I'm wrong on that.
I can agree with you. I do think it was to some extent the verbiage at the time too, to some extent.
Well,
Not
true.
not all of it, but to some extent.
I'm just saying,
that did
like,
play.
how often did you hear the Brady Bunch saying, "Hey, he's a sex fiend"? It's like,
Well, yeah, that's kids' TV though too. That would have been this probably. Well, no, never mind. I don't know when this would have been like. If this would have been like 7 to 8 o'clock or 9 to 10 or
this is after dark episode.
yeah,
I didn't watch
Twilight Zone
after
after
the
dark.
credits, but I feel like they would have been like, and now a word from Mr. Serling, and he's like, when I'm going in deep, I use Trojan condoms.
Oh my god, terrible.
I
But
want
probably
to
true.
hear that.
Like this is the
Well,
one
that-
episode that like
Nice fit
getting
rep
there.
Trojan.
Yeah. Anyways, so Jacob, with that said, let's do the narration thing. That thing.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Totally
Yeah.
ready. Clearly,
yeah, yeah.
Jake's got his little
I
bug
thought you
ready.
pulled it up like 30 minutes ago.
I did, but I didn't scroll to it.
Jacob was just excited by this episode, so he's like he forgot to pull it up.
Okay, but
That's
he's
what
the
she
one who
said.
was like, "Oh, this episode was not good."
I don't need your critiques, okay?
Isn't that what
Ja-
this podcast is about?
Not me. I'm not Agnes. It's not from Jake with love. It'd be a whole bunch of love.
Oh, good lord.
James Elwood, master programmer in charge of Mark 502-741, commonly known as Agnes, the world's most advanced electronic computer. Machines are made by men for man's benefit and progress. But when man ceases to control the products of his ingenuity and imagination, he not only risks losing the benefit, but he takes a long and unpredictable step into the Twilight Zone.
So half this podcast is men, half this podcast is women. Machines are made by men for
Men.
man's benefit. How do we feel about that? Like that's the first time it's like manly men.
I don't think it meant like necessarily.
I was gonna-
it may
I was
have
gonna
meant
say.
men. I think it just means like.
I mean, you don't
man,
know. I
you
mean,
man, you
yeah.
sexist son of a bitch.
I think in this respect, it was meant as mankind, as
Yeah.
more than anything.
Triv,
What?
you would think so, but this is a very
Yes.
sexy episode, so I don't know if that's what it means.
I
It's
will
nothing
say,
that says it seems.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say that I will add that I felt like the workplace in this episode was very bro-y.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So
Those are
in
good
that
points.
case, I'm not necessarily surprised by the
I'm-
language.
I mean, it's very broy, but there is some attractiveness for both sides of the sex here. I mean, there's, the nice looking guy who apparently hits on Millie, and then there's Millie. Apparently, Jacob's infatuated with Millie. I mean,
I mean,
you're
there
getting both
there
sides of the
is,
coin
but
here.
it's
So
it's not like Millie's being then called in to be a replacement for Elwood when he loses control. To be like, oh, I can fix it, or whatever.
I'm not sure. What is her position here? Is she a programmer? Or is
No,
she
bro.
secretary?
She,
yeah,
might,
it's just
secretary.
kinda
she
like
might be
a
a secretary of some kind. Which in that
That's
case,
a-
it's like if the programmers are mainly or predominantly men, then it's like the women that we do see in this episode are kind of placed in that like assistant secretary type status, which wasn't like uncommon at the time, at least
do
as
you
far
guys-
as like an environment like this. But
Do you feel like she's like given a lot of depth though? She almost feels like just an object for Elwood to pine over, and she goes for the other guy, whatever his name is it Walter or Fred or whatever his name is, and
it was
That's
like
kind of her
Walter
role.
Holmes.
Yep.
yeah.
Hmm.
But the question is like, do you think she's well written here, or do you think she
Well ridden.
like
think she's
in the
been
sense of like, do you think
written
her
very well.
Do
Do you want to
think
add on to
she-
that, Jacob?
What? The writing? I've yeah, Ryan Millie. Don't threaten me with a good time.
Oh my god. No, but like
Not what I meant.
Millie's an interesting character. James Elwood is like your very atypical stereotype of a nerd. He has that loud,
Nerd.
nasally voice. He talks with like 8 octaves higher than most people should. Kind of like was it the the Nutty Professor. Is that what I'm thinking of?
Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis. The hey, that type of
He
thing. It's
might
I
like,
have
mean,
he might have undergone castration.
I mean, with Agnes, he probably did. We just didn't see it.
yeah,
It was like that's the director's cut.
there you go. I
Um,
don't think
I
it
was
was as
referring to the
bad
SNL
as.
sketch, but yeah.
I don't think they were as bad with him as say something like Revenge of the Nerds or something like that. But yeah, no, he was very stereotypical. Actually, and it's random and out of my childhood, but like Saved by the Bell, there was I think it was like a math teacher or science that, yeah, exactly. But it looked just like him, and it obviously wouldn't have worked. But if they would have teleported him from the '60s to the early '90s, it would have been the same guy.
his name was Cox on Lost in Space, by the way.
Nice.
His name's what?
His name is Wally Cox anyway. That's his name.
Yeah.
Ah,
Apparently,
But
he's in Lost
I
in
don't even know
Space.
what you guys are talking about, but that's a
no,
funny name.
no, but in terms of Millie, I think she was like a lot of like side characters in this in Twilight Zone. I think she could like she kind of fills the role of what's needed. Okay, we need her to be allergic to flowers. We need her to be on a diet. It kind of. But all that aside, she does still continue to and come back. She
Yeah.
goes out on multiple dates trying to give it multiple tries.
I don't see why either, because I don't like she seems as if she's not really interested when he first asks and like brings the candy and stuff. But then she goes on a date with him. Well, maybe he's loaded. Or she's been talking to some of his friends from the locker room.
Do you
Yeah, I don't know
guys
where to go
like? Do
from that
you
date.
guys like this episode, or do you? Because I'm trying to figure out, like, because it's like two different stories. It's like you have Elwood trying to get with Millie. Millie finds another, attractive guy, and then you have like the sci-fi angle with like Agnes, who is like sexually charged. It's like the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory robot or the computer where it just like it answers questions, but it becomes more and more infatuated, similar to like her, the
I,
Joaquin Phoenix movie.
I thought it was
So
mildly entertaining. Yeah,
what's that?
I thought it was mildly entertaining filler.
I mean, Alex, what about you?
I would agree with that. I didn't necessarily like that episode. It wouldn't be one that I would like recommend to people.
Yeah, I wasn't like offended by it or anything.
Hmm.
Like I wasn't like, oh, this sucks so bad. But I wasn't like, oh, this is amazing. It's just kind of like, oh, if I was watching this well, we are watching it on a week to week basis. But if I was watching it like back in the '60s, if I was watching it new back in the '60s, I'd be like, well, okay, that happened. What's up next week? You know?
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
think
get,
I
yeah,
think
I got it, Trey.
so. I think that it does what it needed to do. It was they were trying comedy. Comedy at this point in Twilight Zone is kind of that you can see that they're trying, but it's comedy is hard, and I think that's probably where this falls down. They were going for something light and kind of airy for an outside the box idea of, oh hey, computers are awesome. This what if one fell in love with a guy? I guess to repeat the MST3K mantra, repeat to yourself, it's just a show in this particular respect. Like it has those little comedy beats with the secretary that he keeps handing stuff off to. The poor guy can't catch a break, and when he can, it's with someone that, isn't really for him on several levels. He doesn't come off as like forlorn and like obviously he's a guy that's committed to his job, but I don't think he comes off as like sex starved, lonely. He's just, you know, hey, here's a pretty girl, let me try asking her out, and hey, she says yes.
You know what I think would
It,
have made it better?
What's that?
Because the end was kind of lukewarm. If by the end, just through a course of events, this like robot or computer through its calculations and stuff ended up like I don't know, somehow like nuking the world because it was jealous over him and this woman or something. I think that would have been funny. Kind of like a darkly comedic thing. I don't know if they were there yet. They
I
weren't in
mean,
that headspace, but I would
I
have
mean,
found
kind of
humor.
like Doctor Strangelove in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like miscommunication.
Like,
I
oh
think
shit, the world's gonna explode. It's about to blow up the whole world, and he just goes, Agnes, wah, 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 and then it ends.
And
And
then
then
there's like freeze
that's
frame.
actually what started Time Enough at Last.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
exactly.
they're all connected.
Absolutely.
It's all connected.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't hate this episode. I think it's actually quite what word did I use, Trip? Did I say audacious?
Audacious. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very audacious. I think it's an episode that could be very cheesy and very stupid, but I think there's enough levity, enough humor there that I think it works for me at least. And I think it works in the simple fact that it has a very dark premise in the simple fact of a computer that kind of becomes obsessed with a guy and gives him all the wrong information, all the wrong places and stuff like that. And I don't know. I just I like how sassy the computer is, just how it responds back. It starts talking like I don't know different languages about the love of women that they either love or hate, and
Like a woman
he starts
sending mixed messages.
yeah he starts giving Jesus, but he starts
You weren't supposed to say yeah.
I'm just trying. I'm like trying to push for. I'm like trying to push for. I'm like Jacob said something. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it's just like how Agnes is like, oh, here's a really hunky looking guy. See if that works. And this guy Elwood is just so oblivious to everything. And then when it's too late, he's just he can't handle it, and it just eats him alive. And I don't know. I really enjoy this episode. Maybe this is like my guilty pleasure type episode. But I know it
Not a
won't be like a
bad
top 20 or
episode.
anything. But what's up?
I don't think it's a bad episode. It's just kind of, I mean, clearly, I think you liked it more than at least me. I just think it was kind of
There's a
fine. That was fine.
there's a lot that happens in like the first 12 minutes of this episode. I'm sitting here watching this. I'm looking down at the counter. I'm like, holy shit, it's only been 12 minutes and there's all this stuff that happens, the setup and Millie and the date. And, it was actually a lot of stuff for 24 minutes. I don't know if you guys agree or not.
I would say so. It definitely feels, talking of Jerry Lewis and kind of that realm, I think it definitely fits like that kind of screwball comedy, like sex comedy of the time. It kind of, I'm sure it took a lot of inspiration from ones like those because you do have those kind of bumbling, like goofy moments and kind of the overly sexualized bit and the kind of like the misdirection and everything else. So,
What do you
Yep.
think, Alex? Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think as Jacob said, it's like I just really felt like lukewarm about the episode. Like it's more in if I were to put it on kind of any ranking, I would maybe put it like in the kind of around the middle, but towards like the bottom half out of like the episodes that we've seen so far. Not
Maybe.
because it's bad, but I think it is really just because it's just kind of like it's kind of goofy in a way where it's like the social awkwardness isn't necessarily like I don't know, like endearing or like entertaining to me personally to that sort of extent to put it like higher. I guess you would say like it still was like a great episode as when it came to actually portraying Agnes, like I actually thought that was a fun way to convey sort of an kind of an inanimate object as this very like as this character that can convey emotions and be able to still have like that sassy sort of characterization to her. I felt like I think that's what really made the episode fun was where I think the writing was able to be clever and give some personality towards this artificial intelligence. But I think without it, and if this was just kind of like a socially awkward programmer just trying to, make his way around women, because that's the one thing he doesn't understand. It's like it definitely gives off like miniature in that sort of regard if they took it more in that direction. But I would much rather watch Miniature for what it was able to do in that episode versus what they kind of give Elwood here in comparison.
no, I think that's fair. Nick, you're muted.
I know. I'm trying to figure out why
Wouldn't be an episode if Nick
I'm
didn't
so
mute himself
bright.
at least once.
She said
That's like me, like
Nick,
snapping back into some weird, like, whoop,
giraffe length.
Like me
yeah,
with my
Uh,
sexual innuendos.
in your
yeah.
endo.
In your window.
In your endo, yeah, that's right.
All in your
What
window.
is it?
In your endo. You like that bitch, huh? Do ya?
Yeah, I do.
Jesus. We go from here now.
I mean, should we talk about like I mean, I know we kind of talked about the plot, but was there kind of anything like plot wise that would you like try to make sure to like cover, I guess?
It reminds me. This episode kind of makes me feel like this is where they got the story for Herbie at a little bit because the use of computers. It almost feels like a cautionary tale of and it's similar to like something like her about don't get too obsessed other people's opinions because if you do, it can come back and bite you in the ass. And that kind of feels like what it's like a little bit here, where Elwood starts listening to something and he keeps making mistakes. You know, he gives. They're very much stereotyping a woman in this episode with like, oh, I'm trying to lose weight. You know, I'm too fat or I'm allergic to flowers, and it's like, I don't know. It makes it's a really interesting way to do things, I guess, if that makes sense.
I
Well,
just
also
started
I
my
think
diet.
what's cliche is like I guess the fact that women like can't just be like supportive and kind to each other, like that kind of sort of jealousy or like pitting one against the other
No, that's true.
sort of thing too, or like two women can't exist in a room without, I guess, sort of arguing
Like
about a man,
cat
even though the
fighting,
man
stuff
is
like
more
that.
so
Yeah.
arguing about, even though it's like one, even though it's, in this case it's one man chasing a woman, but then this like
Even the female
artificial
robot's
intelligence who
moody.
is a female is then like infatuated, but it then is like, no, but you should go with me instead of this
Well,
woman
I
kind of
mean,
thing. Like it, I don't know. It's kind
The
of,
the jealousy aspect of things is an
yeah.
interesting play, but it's
yeah.
but if you think about it, if you're talking about a computer, like she was all or nothing. Like there was the I don't remember if it was Greek or French, but it was the line that was like women love or hate, and it was based off of something from the uh I don't know, an old poem. And like that whole like black or white when it came to that computer. I mean, that's kind of the way computers at that point would have worked. You know, it was, you know, even though she never had a chance, she was jealous of things that she couldn't have. And when she turned on Elwood, it was a full turn because it was one way or the other to
I
But
some
mean,
extent.
I do wonder if they went that route just because they were like, oh, it's a man-made machine. So
Possibly.
obviously, so it wouldn't be like they got the input from like, I don't know, like the women in the office, for example, to be like, oh, like this is kind of similar to just how our vibe actually is versus like, and I think that's why maybe Agnes came across more, I guess, tropey is just because it's more of a man's interpretation of a woman versus a woman having her own sort of, I guess, input in place in this kind of situation.
yeah, because they were constantly making Agnes out to be like this really overbearing woman, which is a lot of what the '60s were did when it
They
came
made her
to
seem
came.
desperate to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if that came across to everybody else, but
She
With
was like
Agnes,
the Agnes was
mhm.
like the crazy ex-girlfriend, like the super attached girl. Like just
Yeah.
the next guy comes in, she's like, "Oh, I love you" immediately.
hmm
She's that chick that on the first date, she's like, "I love you. I think I'm in love."
Jacob, has this happened to you for like when you're
but it
like,
seems like too, like she chewed up men and spit them out, like you know every other
well,
like the programmer before and clearly the programmer after was kind of going that same route.
was
And
that
I don't know.
Does
Agnes's?
that have to do with because men programmed
Well,
her?
no, that's a good question though. It could you could take that from the perspective of because men programmed her, but you could also go the route of okay, there is this incredibly complex machine, you know, and it's hard to work with incredibly complex machines. The fact that it was, you know, cast as a woman, I don't know. Take that how you could take it
Whatever.
as just
Are you saying women are complex machines?
I would say that we're complex, but men are equally complex.
But a
I don't know how
machine?
complex I
A
am. I can
machine?
tell you that. Right?
The machine, the
You a
machine.
complex machine?
Precisely.
I mean, you can tell how complex Jacob is just by how
I'm a
much sex
machine.
talk he talks about.
You want to know what kind of machine I am? I'm a sex machine.
Oh my god. Um, I do think that maybe this was a play for her to get Walter in her grasp, in Agnes's grasp, because she's trying everything to
Who?
yeah, Walter, the attractive,
The guy with the butt
tall.
with the 500 Mustang.
I don't remember a Walter. I remember a Walder.
He's the one that that is like in the,
Walder? Walder with his 64 Mustang. Yeah. Walder.
yeah. But do you think Walter comes off as a jerk, or is he like one of those people that's like misinterpreted as like a good guy, very smart, but because he's good looking and very tall and attractive to most women, that he is misrepresentative of who he is? Like, how do you guys
Everybody
feel
knows
about him?
tall
He's
people
a
are
himbo.
assholes.
He definitely comes across as, oh, we like, I'll get along with you as a coworker, but I'm not gonna like want to go out to get drinks with you, like person to person.
And he seemed like an
Kind
alright
of thing
guy
was to
until he
Elwood,
started
yeah.
moving in on dude's
Yeah.
date.
Like he
I mean,
seemed
that,
like fine, but then it's like when he like physically pushed Elwood like out of the door of his apartment, it was like, we're just gonna keep drinking and I'll take her to dinner or whatever. All right, bye.
but I don't even know, was that really
Yeah.
like a
I don't know.
character trait, or was that just they wrote it that way? They did that for the funnies.
Well, they
I
did
mean,
that
it
the
could be
same way they did
both.
with Millie. Really, they're both
Mm.
tropes.
They're one note, it's
Yeah.
just like they have one
Mm-hmm.
thing. He's pretty and he moves in on the pretty girl, and she's pretty and she doesn't want anything to do with him and hooks up with the first pretty guy.
I mean, to be fair, this feels like Rick Moranis at Ghostbusters point of view when he's trying to get with Dana Barrett, and Pete Venkman keeps like cockblocking him a little bit. That's what it felt like, because like there's a point where you see Millie in the room dancing or whatever, and there's Walter, and then he slams the door in his face, and I swear to God, I was like, oh my God, that feels like the Rick Moranis, Louis Tully, POV from Ghostbusters.
Okay. Well, I'll call you later then. Take a rain check on that.
Also, real quick, Jake, did you know that the secretary, the blonde secretary going down the hallway those 3 times, her name is in real life is Nan?
No, oh, she's pretty hot too. Granted, Millie had that girl next door kind of hotness going on, so I was digging that. But yeah, I kept thinking that maybe like he was gonna end up hooking up with that, like he was gonna like the woman walking down the hall that he kept giving stuff to. I was like, by the end, maybe he's gonna like hook up with her, or maybe he's not gonna notice that she likes him or something. But no, they didn't go that route.
That
Yeah,
would
I
have been
thought there was
cool.
gonna be something with that too.
Yeah,
Like I thought she was gonna play more than just sort of like having like a running joke kind of throughout the episode sort of thing, where she just happens to be there,
yeah.
you know,
I mean,
just
I
out of
keep walking down that
convenience.
hall.
But
Every time you go down it, you get a gift.
Mm.
Every day I take my ass down that hall. What's today? I got
The
a
last
snack
thing
the
she
other
got
day.
was a sign,
Yeah.
Oh, she got a signer, right?
or name card, or
I never
whatever.
to talk to this man. I just think it's funny. It's like it just shows you like how misguided this guy is. Like he goes for the wrong person. He goes for the person that has the glasses. It's kind of nerdy, and she's clearly not interested in him. And it's almost
She's
tragic in a
interested in
lot
him.
of
She's
Then
ways.
just
why does
interested
she
in different
go
things.
right? Then why did she go back out with him on
Because
2 more dates and they had scheduled a third
I
one?
don't
because
know,
they needed
because
an
she felt sorry
episode,
for him.
Triff.
No shit, Sherlock.
They
It
needed
was
somebody to do that so
I
he could
think
get
maybe it was one of those
ejected.
things where like maybe Millie didn't want to be like rude, but then was still trying to be like considerate enough to be like, oh, okay, like, I don't want to be like a complete asshole, I guess, but
I mean,
But
I
like
don't
she's like, I don't want to
I
be
don't
rude. I don't want
know.
to be a complete ass, so I'll break him off a little something tonight. As long as he like breaks away from this book and
Well, it
stops talking
seemed
about
like she just
Einstein.
was like pushing him off, but then it's like maybe she felt bad. So maybe, I don't know, maybe she's actually saw something in him,
And
but
then tried to
it's
score.
hard to know.
She saw his pay. She works in HR. She saw his paycheck. She said, "Damn,
damn, that $20 a week. Oh my God, I gotta go for that.
rich."
I don't know. I think the problem with this episode is it's a lot of stereotypes. The good-looking guy, jerk guy, the nerdy computer guy that can't get a date, and
That's
when
just
he
comedy.
does, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
exactly. It's the
Life's a
nutty
comedy.
professor.
true.
Yeah, the '60s. It's
And
like
stereotypes are rooted in reality to a degree, at least to a to some degree.
Feels like, Some Like It Hot or The Odd Couple or something like that. It's like that type of humor in a lot of respects. And I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it does have a lot of style. I mean, clearly Richard Donner is a very talented director even at this age. So,
Like some like it hot. I think that's what this episode needed was more Tony Curtis dressed up as a woman. He should have played Millie.
well, we can't all be perfect.
Totally different
Jacob.
episode then.
Yeah. That would have really broke boundaries. That would have definitely canceled the Twilight Zone faster.
That's the 2024 version.
But regarding what was, I guess, said earlier, where it's almost like the cycle of sort of, I guess, men in the office who are really good programmers, I guess, sort of being like, oh, like, like, oh, yeah, I can take this on, and then being able to, I guess, be capable of like handling Agnes, but then they can't after a while. I
Kind of a
do
progressive
wonder.
episode.
Hmm?
I said it is kind of a progressive episode if you think about it. All these men think they can handle this woman, but then they find out they're like decimated by her. I mean, if we call it a her, but
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely see that sort of being the pattern, but in a way I don't know, it's hard to really like confirm that, I guess, just because the first guy, all we see is sort of like the mania that he sort of exudes by the time he kind of leaves the room, and then Elwood happens to take over and like immediately solve the problem. So I don't know. Maybe it could be just Agnes sort of being that complex and that intelligent enough to be able to kind of have that sort of line up like that. But I mean, who's to say?
Yeah, it's I like Agnes.
she's just a
She's funny.
strong-willed woman.
She's built tough. Built for
Yeah.
tough.
She's built for
Maybe,
tough.
but then
And
again,
she
she
needs a
wrote "I love
strong
you" in
man.
like all caps, and then like the
It's
size,
true.
the size of the font kept going up. So I don't know.
Did you
Maybe she
think
really
that
was. Mhm.
would have wrapped himself up in all the paper and he'd been dead at the end of the episode? Did that ever come across to you guys like as he was jumping up on
Mm,
the
No, this
computer?
wasn't that kind of episode. That would have been a dark
I don't
turn,
know.
though.
You're
And
talking
then
about
they're just
like,
like,
what if Agnes like blew up the world or something like that?
yeah,
I feel
but like
like
in a funny way.
Yeah.
I feel like this episode could have been the kind to be like, all right, I can't stand this computer anymore. I'm just gonna like turn it off and like completely obliterate it, break it, to where it's like he just kind of leaves, but then is sort of then labeled as being like almost like psychotic, I guess, in that reaction and how he comes across, at least to me. I
But
feel
then
like
the
that.
computer fights back and becomes Skynet.
Well, maybe he could have fought back, but then again, it was like the 60s, so I guess he could have easily just sort of like, I don't know, like whacked a chair on it and it would have been like kaputs. So who's to say?
Run a car into it.
Yeah, but at least that's the kind of ending that I
Nan Adams, I need your help.
could have imagined. If if we didn't get the ending for this episode, that's how I think the episode would have happened, is that he just probably would have been brought to this point of madness to where, I don't know, he could have lost his job or,
He would have
maybe like he could have
tried to-
just lost everything ultimately.
He would have tried to blow it up, but got caught, like shot, and put in an insane asylum, where he'd be talking about like how robots are going to take over the world,
Well, I mean, not necessarily like taking over the world, just more of like,
taking over the men, Amazon
yeah,
robots from the moon.
I guess like
Too
yeah,
soon.
but I guess that idea of like almost like if there was sort of that cycle of Agnes going through all these men, it's like he would end up being the one to like break said cycle, I guess. But
Not today.
Um,
Agnes.
All I can say is Venus Shemimus.
He could
Venus
have like
Venus.
beaten Agnes like Kurt Russell did in The Thing, and like poured a glass of whiskey on her, and be like, Psh, "Bitch."
I loved when the
bitch.
flaps on the machine came up and I was like, oh, come on. Like, it's obvious. Don't you know who I'm talking about? And then he walks out and she's like, it's me. You didn't have time to wait.
Yeah, she did like conveniently wait for people to leave the room to drop bombshells.
Yeah.
She had
she's
her
living in
she
a
had her
soap
own
opera.
secrets.
And Agnes, the computer actually looked like a face. So like
Yeah.
Oh,
the
yeah.
mouth looked like a mouth that kept
Looked like
opening
that
up, and
robot
Hey,
from Mystery Science 3000.
Well, it's funny
it
too because
looked
it's like,
no. It looked like you, Jake, when you've got like the two Jeff eyes in like your mouth.
oh my God, please don't,
Yes, do it.
please don't, Jesus Christ.
Looked like that right there. That's what it looked like.
My name is Agnes.
I mean, and it's kind of funny to have it be like, oh, we created this complex machine to determine if we can go into space and fly across Venus and come back
Well, the
upon like
trivia.
orbiting it. And then it comes to this where it's like, where it's just like
We can
all she
fly to
wants to
Venus.
do is just talk about
Let's talk about your
his
sex
love
life.
life. Yeah.
She pulls a Tommy
Be
Wiseau.
like, I don't want to work. I just want to talk about love.
What's love
Absolutely.
got to do with it?
Well, and
Have some of
even
this
the
cake.
Jesus.
even the Venus thing was kind of in keeping with the romantic theme, the kind of Venus is the goddess of love and all that stuff. So
I'm your
Damn.
Venus.
Um, so I like this review. It says lifted from Vonnegut. So this motto in Hollywood, the motto in Hollywood almost from the beginning is stolen fair and square. Although credited to someone else, the cybernetic version of Cyrano de Bergerac was lifted from Kurt Vonnegut Jr.'s Epicac, established and published in 1950. What does that have to do with this episode? So apparently,
Cyrano de Bergerac. It is kind of like having the person who's like just kind of a dud with the ladies, who's like the I guess he's not the
yeah,
top
but
dude, but
at
then you
no
got the
point
person off to the
is.
side who's kind of like different looking,
But at
telling
no
them what
point
to
is there
say and
like
do.
letters being written or something like that. Like it feels like the Agnes is doing the exact opposite of what Cyrano did. Or oh my God, really? You had to go there. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else to talk about with this episode.
You could
In the
just get to
end,
the ending. Oh,
yeah, in the end,
World
Wally,
explodes.
yeah, the world
Skynet
explodes.
rules supreme.
In the end, James kind of loses his sanity,
James
lets
Cameron.
Walter have the machine, and hands the poor secretary as she's walking by his name tag. He's like, she's just a machine.
Is that his name? It's
No,
his like the plaque off of his door.
mhm.
no. I'm just saying it has his name on
Yeah.
it, but maybe Nan Peterson will get the hint that maybe she's the one for him. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think about the endings? Like, it doesn't really have an ending. It just kind of ends. Like, there's nothing really is solved. It's just Elwood is kind of lost his sanity a little bit. I mean, what do you guys think?
I don't know if he got his nuts handed to him, maybe, or if he just was overwhelmed, or I don't know. I think he probably had enough is enough, and he was ready to
He
swear
just
off girl computers for a while.
he couldn't handle that strong, independent woman.
What about you, Alex?
Um, you know, I concur with my other co-host here. I don't know, as I said before, it's like I didn't really feel, I don't know, I guess it was, well, I wasn't like super satisfied with the ending, I guess, just because it just sort of, as you said, it's like, well, we just walked away and then I was like, okay, that's it. Cool. Who knows what happens next with kind of the next guy. Maybe it doesn't
May-
work at all for him or whatever, but I don't know. Who's to say? Either
Maybe
way, I don't know. Maybe
maybe walks
Agnes
out like,
ends up running the company,
I mean, possible. Maybe
you
it's like
know?
a
Boss bitch.
Maybe she just girl bosses her way to, you know, to Venus.
A boss ass bitch. Bitch, bitch, bitch.
But that's kind of the most I can say about about that, honestly. So,
I
yeah.
agree. It wasn't satisfying ending because it wasn't a satisfying ending. Um, yeah, I stick to my previous comments that it was a mildly entertaining fluff filler episode.
What
Didn't
about you,
hate it,
Trev?
didn't love it. Just thought it was like, okay, what's next week?
Oh, wait till next week. Oh, wait till next week.
What do you mean by
No.
that?
I think that if
Uh,
it had not been directed by Richard
What
Donner,
do you mean?
it probably would have been worse. And maybe I'm giving him
I
too
don't
much
know.
credit.
It's.
I mean, there's
I
not really
mean,
any Richard Donnerisms, whatever those are, in it. But I mean, I feel
I
like
mean, you.
he's a
Are you sure
solid
about that,
director.
Jacob? You can. I
Maybe
mean,
not.
you believe a computer can love. I mean, sure. There's some Richard Donner's isms in there. She's doing it. She's
Do
doing
you
it all for.
believe a computer
She's
can
doing it all
love?
for James.
She did it all for the nookie.
You know, he's James is like, I'm doing it all for you, Agnes, as he jumps off the building and hangs himself.
That's where he was headed at the end, is the
Yeah.
top floor.
Yeah, probably. But what about you, Triv? What you got? What the hell was that?
That was me.
Oh
Sorry.
my god! What just happened?
It was a cough. Overall, I appreciate fluffy episodes, and this one definitely had a lot of fluffy. I shut up.
Speaking of Agnes, Agnes
Shut-
was
shut-
like,
shut
"It's
your
so
face,
fluffy."
I'm having a delayed response to Nick's. What the hell was that?
Well, no, it just sounded. I was like, "What just like? Did somebody zip up something? Like, what did just happen?" I was really confused there for a second.
All of my coughs sound like zips.
my
Zips,
coughs,
yes.
my
Yep.
coughs sound like zips.
That's right. Haha, how you like them apples. Anyway, no, I enjoy fluffy episodes. This one's definitely fluffy. Definitely has a lot of like sex comedy, screwball comedy attempts. I don't think that it stuck the landing as much as it could have. I think they tried. It definitely didn't succeed as much as it should have. I think the reviews generally of this are fair. But they really run the gambit. It's crazy where they're at between IMDb and Paste. So,
And where are they, Triv?
well, we haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, I thought that's where. I
See,
thought that was
You
a
have to
lead
read
in.
the closing narration
I thought
first.
that was a
Triv's
way
like,
I was
Triv's like,
trying to
it's so.
segue.
Triv's like, it's so fluffy, and it's an episode about Agnes.
That's
so.
what I get for trying to do Nick's job. I'll just shut the
Yeah,
fuck-
no. See, you
fuck
try to
up.
do my job, and then it all goes down like an obsession with a computer.
Aren't we all obsessed with computers?
I'm just gonna shut the fuck up and do what I'm told.
Yeah, Jacob, you son of a bitch.
Sorry.
Go back to
Closing
your video
narration.
games and computers and selling overpriced machines. Gosh, Jacob.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, Jacob, did you have anything to say about the closing narration?
Oh, that's me. That's my cue. That's my thing. My
That's one of many things.
that's what I do. I do closing narrations and opening narrations. If you didn't
And
know.
loves Millie.
Oh yeah, she's hot. Advice to all future male scientists. Be sure you understand the opposite sex, especially if you intend being a computer expert or sexpert. Otherwise, you may find yourself like poor Elwood, defeated by a jealous machine, a most dangerous sort of female, whose victims are forever banished to the Twilight Zone.
Ooh.
The sexy Twilight Zone.
Ooh.
They
It was
needed
very
half
short
bag
and
of-
sweet of that narration.
It was.
See, Trev, they need a half a pack of cigarettes and a full tank of gas. You know,
And they're
Elwood.
wearing sunglasses.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta give to the
Are the
gotta give to the
cigarettes-
children.
Oasis. The
They
soft,
might be. They could also be Chesterfields.
the softest
Might run
touch,
into-
or whatever
Stuff
they
as
are.
such. Yeah.
The softest.
All right. Did
My
you guys
brain-
have anything?
My brain is mushy right now. It's squishy.
It's okay.
It's very squishy and smooth.
It's squishy. My squishy.
Triv, did you guys have anything else you wanted to say on the episode before Triv gives her 2 cents?
Well, apparently, Elwood refers to the need to debug Agnes's programming. Although the term had been in use since at least 1945, this was an early use of the term for U.S. television.
Oh, high tech talk.
Yeah, very.
He's like a hacker. Hacker man.
Alex, you're usually pretty good for some additional information that I couldn't think of the words I was getting ready to say, so I apologize. Did you have anything else you want to say?
Put her on the spot like that. Hey, you're usually good for
No, she's always pretty
No.
good about additional information. So. My God, you
No.
make me sound like an asshole.
Negative.
I mean, I
The
am an asshole,
answer.
but
The answer
it's-
is I don't have
Not
any
shit.
additional information.
Hooray!
Was there anything in the we don't ever like reference the Twilight Zone companion anymore. Was there anything on this episode at all in the companion?
This is the last episode with music by Nathan Van Cleef.
I know. Other
Hang
than
on, give me a
Cleaves.
second here.
That's some
What
good
is this
shit I just
episode
came up
called?
with, didn't I?
From Agnes with Love.
I took some top-notch research to find that. I want you all to know that.
Oh
You
man,
went, like you
hang
went
on.
like halfway down the list of
Top-notch.
Wikipedia.
It's right under the closing narration.
Let me check real
4:15.
quick.
Production notes.
He was a composer for White Christmas and Robinson Crusoe on Mars. It is so weird to see as they look. It's so weird to see Richard Donner directing Twilight Zone episodes. Like, Jacob, have you got to check out that Christopher Reeve documentary, Superman?
I heard about it, and
It's
I
really
heard
good.
about it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, like how Will Reeve lost his father and mother in like a year period.
Oh shit, really?
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
know about
his
his dad.
Yeah, Christopher
Obviously.
Reeve died, of course, because of his injury, and then his mother died of cancer like a year later.
Damn. I know. Well, Christopher Reeve lived a long time after that horse accident.
Yeah, for about 7 or 8 years. Yeah,
Is that all it was? Was 7 or 8?
yeah,
I thought
yeah.
lived
He
like.
died in the accident was in '96, and he died in like '04.
Was it that late? I thought it was
Wow.
the early 90s.
Nah,
I
like
don't know why. I thought that
96,
was like
yeah.
92, 93. Like not long after Quest for Peace.
Nanu.
No,
Okay. So at least for the Zachary companion, it does mention how Agnes is the equivalent of a femme fatale, but computerized, which I thought was a great way of putting it.
Very.
But essentially, it's just this tiny paragraph here, basically, which I will, I guess, read. It's on page 416.
it's tiny. I'll read it.
Well, it's a small paragraph.
No, it's fine.
Like that's
No,
pretty much all it's giving.
yeah, you're
It's
good.
what is it?
No,
The
you're gonna have to read
problem
something on camera.
the problem
Too
in
bad.
From Agnes with Love lies with the main character. James Elwood is enormously inept and unforgivably dense. When he takes his date back to his apartment, he reads to her from a book of Einstein. When she turns off the light, he says, "Millie, I can't read this chapter to you without proper lighting." Upon the advice of Agnes, he introduces her to a handsome playboy, and then is amazed when he barges in on them and finds they've become romantically involved. Elwood doesn't need a computer to ruin his life. Clearly, he's capable of doing it on his own.
Not
Read that
untrue.
first sentence again.
The problem in From Agnes with Love lies with the main character,
Continue.
according to Zachary. Do you want me to reread that?
Yeah,
It's in the
Jacob, that's
beginning.
cold.
It's just in the beginning, like the first sentence.
Oh,
or two.
well, okay. He says that the problem lies with the main character and that James Elwood is enormously inept and unforgivably dense.
Okay, right there. See, the way that should be read adds a lot of context to the episode. James Elwood is enormous and incredibly dense. Now we know why Millie is so
Well, maybe you should
interested.
buy the Twilight Zone Companion by Mark Zachary, and then maybe you can read the paragraph for yourself.
Yeah, that's what I got Google for. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? You're going off the Wikipedia page. They're not going to have this whole excerpt on Wikipedia.
That is true.
I
They don't
gotta
even
say,
they don't even quote. They don't even quote the Zachary companion. They
I
only
do-
quote the
Google.
Martin Graham's one. Which Martin Graham's one is like, I will say, like, for anyone who wants to check out that companion book, it's definitely more like dense, but it's more so because there's just so many like production notes where it's like if you're just wanting a bit more of
Well, I
like a
think that
general
Mark's-
substance and opinion, then I would say that the Zachary one is like is a lot easier to digest in information.
the
Which is
problem
why
with
I've kept it
Zachary's
out
book,
of the two.
Well, I'll say the problem with Zachary's book is it feels like an idiot's guide, the guide for dummies book type of thing. Where
What you think
it's
about
very-
it for the folks that are coming into this and maybe are trying to start?
But
This is probably a good place.
well, but the problem is it doesn't like there are books out there that talk about TV shows where it goes into detail. Like if you want to learn about a little bit about the episode, like there are some episodes in this book where it doesn't even do that. It just gives a paragraph about what the episode's about, and it doesn't really justify. Like I don't blame Zachary or anything like that. He did what he did. The book was successful, but it's just like I feel like there's lacking sometimes. But
I mean,
I can
well,
get the
that's why
Twilight Zone
I think that's
companion
where the
on Audible
Graham's
right now.
one. No, Jake, you can go.
no, Jake's with a smile.
No, I'm
He's,
just talking shit.
Oh,
smiling.
no,
I'm
I
probably
was gonna
thinking
say
shit.
that's where Martin Grams comes in, I guess, where
Oh.
at least from when I did initially use it for my reviews, because I used both Secrete and Grams initially, because I was like, okay, like why the fuck not? Um, but I used the both of them. Grams was definitely more like unbiased, but I felt like the information in it was so dense. Like it felt more like if you're looking up like almost like you know how like sometimes in dictionaries they'll give a bunch of like examples and notes of like how to use a certain word or like different definitions. Like it felt like dense in that regard regarding each episode, which is I think very I think it's something that like I would recommend for people who like are super interested in the Twilight Zone enough to like want to digest like any and all pieces of information and be like a walking encyclopedia on the series. But I think what I like about Secrets is that it's like I feel like it gives a very succinct idea of like what the episode is, and it's like, but also I would say too, like I mean obviously like I think nowadays with digital and social media, I it's so much easier for us to be able to like consume different people's opinions and viewpoints on like television episodes or movies and like just pieces of media in general. But I mean, even with like early books from like Leonard Matlin, for example, where, you know, a lot of his stuff was basically him just sort of sharing his thoughts as a movie critic. I I feel like Zagreus gives off that sort of vibe of that sort of like, oh, I'm gonna offer critique as well as insight kind of thing, you know what I mean? But it very much was like pre like social media, like pre like we're gonna put all of that on the internet, which is why I don't necessarily mind given that sort of context, but I can understand you also like wanting more sort of like in-depth information. But at the very least,
Yeah.
I feel like with the Twilight Zone being as old as it is, I think what's really nice is that so much of the information can be digested from multiple sources. So it can be through the companions or it just can be from other places too. And I know Zakri too has his own YouTube channel and like he has sort of talked about the Twilight Zone and just like sci-fi in general on it. I remember sort of exploring it before kind of over the pandemic just because I was actually I don't know, it just was like randomly recommended to me. And I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. But yeah, I would say at least with how the companion book sort of functions, I can appreciate it both ways. Whereas I think initially when I was using it for like the actual sort of series of videos that I was working on, I did also have that thought where I wish I kind of had more from Secrees, whereas I was getting info for Grams that just wasn't included in it. But then again, I feel like there's just so much information in the Grams companion book that I just like never used or was never like super like, oh, I gotta include that, you know, like it would include a bunch of notes about like very specific sets or like how production days would go down. And it's like if you really want like that much information, then I think like having both is a good idea. But you can also go either or and then still be able to enjoy the series for yourself. So
It's kind of like
sorry,
when you
that was
get
a
one of
huge
those.
tangent,
No,
but
that's okay. It's kind of like
but
when you get a
yeah.
really extensive like Blu-ray or 4K box set for a movie that was an interesting movie, but like it gives you all of the behind the scenes, and it's like,
Yeah.
holy crap!
Exactly, yeah.
An
Like
aficionado
Caligula.
would,
Yeah,
yeah,
sometimes it's just like it's just
absolutely like
too
Caligula.
much. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like sometimes it's just like, oh, even if for something that you love, it could just be a lot to sort of ingest that information just like as an individual. Um, whereas like I don't know, it's kind of like you said, it's like I don't know, almost watching a movie review is kind of an easier way to like take in that information and understand a different point of view versus watching like hours on end of like behind the scenes clips of something where it's like even if you're getting more of that like substance of it, you're not getting to also see like the sort of reception and be able to sort of gauge and engage with it too. So
Yeah, Cliff Notes is what I meant. Not for dummies. That Cliff Notes is what that book feels like a little bit.
yeah. No, yeah,
Uh,
I definitely understand it for sure. I just wanted to like I guess add that because that's something that I've definitely have come to understand with I guess texts like Zucree's that like exists where it's I think like I think it's just because of sort of like sort of the I guess world that we're in where so much knowledge is at the tip like is just sort of like at our own disposal, where it's like we can easily Google search or, kind of access sort of whatever we would want, that it's like, I think sometimes I even forget that so much, I guess, valuable information or research or just kind of, just sort of like opinions were mainly found through text. Like there really wasn't any other sort of way to, I guess, be able to like, I guess, be a part of that conversation outside of just like word of mouth.
Yeah, no, true on that. Because yeah, it's I don't. I was gonna. You ever just like you're listening, you're getting ready to say something that just completely loses. It just happened to me. I just lost what I was gonna say.
Mhm.
That's okay.
But yeah, my brain not functioning. But yeah, you make good points though, Alex, on that. Yeah, yeah,
Good recommendations either way if people are interested in like the different texts that you
Mhm.
can go
Yeah.
to learn
Yeah,
more.
for sure. And there's other texts too. Like there's other books also that are about just like Rod Serling and his life. Like I know I'm pretty sure like his like one of his daughters I think wrote a book
yeah.
about him or something. Like there's even like personal
I
sort
mean,
of, I guess, text about like the Twilight Zone and like in its narrator too.
I
So
mean, not to like keep like promoting this book that I was given. But I mean, even this guy Joshua or Joseph Daughtery put out this Rod Serling at 100. And like there are books out there like you can read about, what Rod Serling did, like you were saying, Alex, and it's pretty cool. Like
yeah.
it just shows you how important the guy was, how important he was to his family, and Mark Zicree. Even though some of the stuff that once again, it's a cliff notes of some of the episodes, so it may be like a Wikipedia for books, but it still gives you good information, especially the bigger episodes. It does a really nice job of giving you stuff. So.
Mhm.
But you get actually when you get a chance, you gotta send me the title of that other book. Like you said, Graham.
Yeah, it's on the bottom of actually the Wiki, if you go to the Wikipedia page for the
Uh,
episode, it's
okay.
Twilight Zone. It's the Twilight Zone unlocking the door to a television classic.
Oh,
And
okay.
specifically the actual like cover of it, it has like the door with a couple of like um sort of like I iconographic like sort of, characters from the Twilight Zone. Like they have like the living doll. Or I
Oh,
think they also have like the To Serve Man alien on the cover too. Like it's very much it gives a similar sort of essence of the Zikri one where you still have the like starry backdrop to it, but it's a little different.
cool. Yeah, I'll give it a chance when.
Hmm.
Damn, $35 or
Yeah, but
30
I
forty
mean
dollars. Holy shit.
it was a thick book though. At least when I
Oh, it's
had both,
800
it's like it
pages.
was
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's like pretty
Thick
thick,
boy.
even with it being like it wasn't a hardcover either. Like even
Oh,
with Zikri's, it was like I mean you can like kind of see. Like it's
yeah,
not like
yeah.
super big, but I'd say like Grams was definitely like at least a third bigger than this one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll give it a
Hmm.
look when I get a chance.
Hmm.
Maybe see if the library has it. Okay. Thank you, Alex, for some good information. Um, And yeah. So, anyways, what are we doing next? We're doing the ranking list, the
Already
greatest
did my
ranking list
part.
ever.
We didn't.
Do you want
Oh,
me to know where everything
Uh,
was
yeah, we
for
didn't do
pasting?
the
oh, I think you already
review
said. Oh,
stuff.
my bad.
No. No, that's
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Good job
Anyways,
listening, Nick.
it was on. I was on
let's
my
do the.
tangent. It's my fault.
That's okay. That's okay. That's all
We'll do
right.
the Scooby Doo.
No, I'm gonna say
No,
I'm
we're
sorry anyway. It's fine.
fine. Say you're
See,
sorry, but then move on. It's all right.
see
So
Triff,
Alex
no worries.
Triff.
apologizing.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Ah, God. Anyway, moving on.
Alex
Okay, so
apologizing. Triv's like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Shut the fuck. No.
That's how
Oh,
we girlies are. Okay.
that's right.
We need to stop being apologetic, but also like I do feel sorry
It's all
at
right.
times.
Don't.
So
It's all good. No
it's the
worries.
best of both
you're
worlds,
fine.
Nick.
Absolutely.
I
All
know.
It's a
I
right.
woman's
know.
So
world, and you're living in it.
Apparently.
okay, so what we have, and this is an insane, like most of the time, I guess there's a lot of them where they fall significantly apart, but then there's a lot of them where they'll fall almost in the same number sometimes. This has got two very, very widespread. Where do you guys kind of generally feel like this would have fallen? For you,
Middle, high in the
69.
middle. Well,
high
low in the
middle,
middle rather.
Mm,
low in the middle, so like 80s for you, Jake?
Uh, yeah.
Thereabouts.
80, 90.
Um,
90.
I'd have, I
was
mean, I'm
gonna
not looking at the
s-
list, but
hmm.
just numbers wise, I'd say 80s, 90s.
I was gonna say around like 100, like 100, 110 ish.
All right. Nick?
Possibly. It just depends.
I
I
know
don't know
where
what we got there.
I know where it lands on Pace Magazine because I looked it up earlier because
You
I was curious
bastard!
about.
Don't spoil
Well,
it. Let her say it.
No, but
Son
I
of
was
a
just curious to
bitch.
like. I'm a yeah. I'm
You
what
ruined
Jacob
it.
just
So you
said.
can't guess.
You've taken my only line.
But I don't know IMDb. I'm guessing IMDb maybe like 85 or something like that. I don't know about IMDb, but I know Paste.
All right, so Pace came in at 66.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Around
Get
that
away
we've
from
got
Jacob's favorite number.
I mean, yeah.
69, dudes.
and then IMDb had it at 147 around
Damn.
yeah,
Mm.
exactly. It's
Like,
like
is that bad?
Interest.
the reviews on IMDb were largely 5s and 6s out of 10. There were a couple of higher, a couple lower, but by and large it was like there were 22 reviews and I think a good 15 of them were between 5 and 6.
Yeah, I'd say a 5 to 6 out of 10 is fair.
Yeah.
It's very like in the middle for sure.
See,
But I
I'd
feel
probably
like
go to
Twilight
like a
Zone
7.5.
episodes are very
Yeah, and
ranked by people. They're either
totally
love it
fair
or
too
hate
to
it.
have it at 7.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even at like in the 60s, it's like I can understand where sort of other sort of audience members can come from with it, but I don't know. I just
I
didn't see it as high compared to other
I just
episodes.
actually let's get into the ranking list actually now that I think about it. Because I mean my whole idea of this is like after watching stuff like Jezebel and Black Leather Jackets, this just feels like a much improved episode. I guess Nightcall was really good. But let's do it. Let's do the Twilight Zone ranking list, the greatest ranking list ever known by computers. All right, so I guess I'll just start at 80 at Elegy because that's where I've typed up to on my number system on my ranking list. I don't know. Do you guys think it's higher or lower than 80?
Lower. Well, higher. Bigger number.
What's
Bigger
lower?
number.
It's lower than 80, Jacob.
I mean,
That's what you're saying, right?
like the number should go higher,
So like 90
but the
or
ranking should go lower. It's so fucking backwards.
You like overcomplicate.
I don't think it's as
I
good as
keep
that
thinking
one.
you're going to go up to like you're going to bring it up to like 43 or something like that.
I
Is
like
where-
Elegy
when
more.
you say that.
Which, if I remember
You like
correctly, wasn't
Elegy
that
more?
Alex's first episode?
think so.
I think so. That was
I
with
think it was my
the
first episode.
How the fuck
On
am I
the
the one
rock.
who remembers that?
Yay.
yeah, it was when they landed on the rock on the
Yeah.
asteroid.
Because I was told that had to be
Um,
good.
is this better than like the Chaser, which is
Mm,
a
Was that the Tales from the Crypt episode?
Yeah, that
Yes.
was the one that was definitely
Ooh.
Tales from the Crypt.
You know, I have a special relationship with that one because I know how good it could be.
You also have a good episode or a good relationship with this one because you really enjoy Millie.
Yeah, yeah,
it was like women equal hot
yeah.
was what I got from his opinion,
She's
and
very
I will
attractive.
not take anything else
She's
away
very,
from
like,
tonight.
subtly attractive. I don't like that, blonde bombshell kind of look. I like the, natural, natural looking.
All right, I'm gonna
Okay.
say this. I think it needs to go underneath escape clause.
Okay, which one's that? Where
Chip,
is it?
you would say
Uh,
that.
Where is
Escape
that?
clause is
87.
around, yeah.
87. Okay.
but
Escape clause.
I would put
Yes,
this.
I like this less than escape clause.
So do you guys like Nervous Man in a $4 room?
I enjoyed that
I
one.
think we're getting in the right realm. I
I
liked
was actually gonna
and
say
when the sky
lower.
opened up more, and the lonely definitely. Why is the lonely 90? That should be higher. That's a good episode.
Why is our
You
list
do
the
this
way
like
that
every episode, Jacob.
The lonely.
You're
was a
like
good
you're like
episode.
the guy that
You're
would
like
go and
you're like, oh my God, those are like that episode, right? That should definitely be like 37.
Yeah,
Yeah, that one
Jacob's-
should be like 52.
definitely.
What's that episode about? I don't know.
Jacob's like reminiscent of The Lonely because that was his first episode. It's like nostalgic for
It was
him.
a good episode. I mean, he shot that chick in the face.
Jesus.
That he had.
That's what she said.
I mean, one could say he'd probably been shooting her in the face over the past 8 months, but we're not going there. Changing of the guard, I thought was better.
No,
Short drink.
I will disagree
Like,
with that. I think this should go
Your opinion
right
is not
above
needed
Nervous
when
Man in
I'm
a
talking
$4
about
room.
mine.
Hmm.
What is this short drink from a certain fountain. We just watched that one, didn't we?
Isn't the one where the guy stays young?
It's like the
Um,
Fountain of Youth
Yeah.
episode, basically.
Why do I
Isn't
not
that like his
remember that
brother
episode?
gives
I
him
remember the
this
name.
whatever?
Mhm.
oh yeah, that's right.
Well, I
He's
think
an
that
old
should
guy
like
with the gold digger husband or gold digger wife,
Yeah.
and he does the surgery and then he turns into a young man and he
Why
keeps
do I
getting
just
younger and younger and younger and then he turns into a baby. Then
don't?
gold digger
I
wife
remember.
becomes gold digger mother.
I like remember that.
Jacob, it
That
hasn't been 20 years, sir.
we
Come on.
just watched that episode. It's like I remember that plot point and I remember that ending, but I do not remember that episode at all. I guess it was that good. The self-improvement of Salvador Ross. I remember that name too.
That's
The
one where
name.
the guy says, "Hey, I want to make a trade," and he'll trade like 10 years of someone's life, so it
Oh
makes
yeah,
him
yeah, yeah.
younger, older, good-looking, rich, whatever.
I mean, that one had an interesting premise. I remember it had some issues, but
I'm
still,
gonna stick with above nervous man, below third from the sun.
what number is that?
85, 86.
Oh, you're like a lot
mm,
higher than I am. I'm down here in the 90s.
Well,
You're
yeah, I
in
did
the
like this
100s.
episode more than you did, but I'd probably put this in like the 60s or 70s, but like I said, I'm not gonna fight that one
I
because
feel like right
I
here
know
at
I'm the only
the
one that like more enjoyed this than most of you guys. So
for
I
me,
thought it
the
was all
high
right.
90s is its playground. You get like Steel, I Seen the Body Electric, The Mirror, The Arrival, which The Arrival I think was better, but whatever. 22, Midnight Sun, Last Night of the Jockey. I feel like this is in that area. Like this is its wheelhouse right here. Yeah. But I'm just one person of four.
I already said my piece.
What did you say?
I said
Can
underneath
you repeat
escape
that?
clause.
Escape clause. Oh,
88.
80, 88.
Yeah.
okay.
Or
Well,
87.
if I were to give my
Really sad.
opinion, I I initially was thinking around 100 in between the Midnight Sun and the Last Night of a Jockey, but because you do want it around the 80s, I would also be okay with that.
I'm not married.
As far as where I would put it, I would put it below and When the Sky Was Opened personally because I would rather watch When the Sky Was
Uh-huh.
Opened
I like that episode.
well, I
versus
know
this
how much
one.
of a big fan of the last flight you are of. That didn't come out right.
It's
I
a
know you
good
said you're a big fan of that.
episode.
Last Flight was a good episode. Wait, was that the one with the British guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was a good episode.
yeah.
See, the
But
problem
also
is,
I did also want to say I on my tangent, I don't know if I think I said his last name wrong, but it was Leonard Maltin, and he basically made like film capsule reviews for a
how
while
did I not
which is
get
more of
that?
like a
Like,
movie guide,
Yeah, I used to
how
have
you
basically.
it.
So
know?
that's what
What?
it kind of what I was referring to, but even stuff like Cisco and Ebert too kind of applies in that umbrella where it's like you would really only see I don't know. I feel like the way I guess sort of criticism on media has evolved has definitely, you know, I guess sort of it's an interesting topic in and of itself, but
I can't believe I
I
didn't
realized
catch
that
that.
I might have said Matlin by accident. I think just because I was thinking about Charlie Chaplin for some fucking reason. But yeah, I did want to say that.
Yeah,
That's okay.
those Leonard Maltin
But
books are
yeah,
like seminal for me.
So
yeah.
Trev, I know
I
you
did
were
take a
saying
I did take a course with him at USC, fun fact.
Nice.
He does the like
you're
symposium one, but it was what's so funny? He would I attended the course when it was like 2020. So this was like COVID, right? And then it was Zoom. And then it's like every time he would turn, he had some kind of like laptop or tablet, but it always was lower. So it just was this like almost like high shot on him with like posters in the background, which was very funny. But
Did you
Trev,
go?
you'd
I
put
love
this
your
above The
book.
Lonely?
no, because well, I didn't know he made the
Oh
movie
yeah,
guides. Like
yeah.
I
I was
would
obsessed. I
like
bought
I
that
was
every single
aware
year.
like I was aware of like the Entertainment Tonight stuff. I guess before taking that like course. It was like the symposium one. And um but yeah, it was I don't know, it was interesting because it was like I don't know. I guess with COVID it was just really I don't know. Another weird tangent from me tonight, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like I feel like even here when everything's virtual, it's like I feel like I'm like around you, but it's not like we're in like an actual like room together. Like we're in the same space, but not in the same room. You know what I
Might
mean?
be
So it
it might
definitely
be
was
for
a
the
similar
best, Alex.
vibe.
You guys are all in my
Hmm?
basement right now.
Woohoo!
But yeah.
As
Anyway.
long as we don't get the hose again.
Anyway, I would
Uh,
say, in conclusion, I would say, I would say, um, around like 89.
So
But if you want to put
below
higher, I
100, that was
understand.
open.
You guys really want to put this over the lonely? I mean, I'm not gonna fight it. I'm
No,
too
I
tired to
put,
fight.
well, okay.
But I'm gonna give a mild objection. I
I
What's
don't
object.
your mild
know. I'm gonna let
objection
you
out of
three decide this
curiosity?
one because
Why do you,
I
Nick, come on,
this
man.
is not where I'd put
This
it, but
is a
like,
man's episode. Get with it.
oh damn.
It should be you and Jake fighting for the spots.
Usually it's
I should
like
just be
us
relaxing with
women.
I should be relaxing with some flowers and a name and a room tag. You know what I mean? Like
There
I
you
should
go.
not
Chocolate-covered cherries,
actually be putting in this amount of
Exactly.
work.
marshmallows.
Uh, do you guys want it below the lonely or do you want it above the lonely? I'll leave it there.
Semantics.
Hmm.
I mean, they're both
I
kind of
mean,
like
as long
what
as
you're.
it's above
thing is,
Uncle Simon, I'm
Both
fine.
of these deal with robots and men.
True.
Sounds like a negative, Triv.
It was
Well,
like a
I mean,
Tuesday
I
night.
have a very good relationship with a robot in my life, but he turns on when I want him to.
are you talking about Ripley?
Okay, so I'm gonna say we're gonna go below the lonely, above
That's
Uncle
fine.
Simon.
That's fine.
Does that sound
Okay.
good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna put
Great.
from Agnes hyphen with love. I hate that. I
Okay.
hate that. Shouldn't it be like from Agnes comma with love? Why is that?
I feel like it should be with love, Agnes.
Or, yeah,
From
with
Agnes
love
with
from
love.
Agnes.
I don't know.
That's a saying, like from Russia with love.
But is it from Russia or is it from Russia hyphen with love? Wouldn't it be a
I
comma?
mean, I don't know how they wrote it. I just verbalize it from Russia with love, from Agnes
Yeah.
with love.
But also, why
Really
Agnes?
deep dive into
Of
the
all
minutiae.
words,
The grammar.
like of all
Because-
names,
because-
like why Agnes?
Because
Yeah, I
it was the
thought that,
60s.
Like
the-
it's such
the
like a
code-
60s name, but
It
also
took
it's
place in the
like
60s.
Like it was gonna be out.
well, okay.
It was the 60s.
Okay, but they could have just been like, I don't know. They could have just been like from Anna with love or something. Like why Agnes?
Because it's the Twilight
I'm
Zone.
just curious.
From Veronica with love.
Okay, but like this I guess it's fair because it's coming from the same series that has what is the
Oh, what was the
dang
one
it?
guy?
What was the guy's name in On Thursday We Leave for Home? That we were
On
just like
Thursday We Leave for
we
Home.
kept avoiding saying the name. And
On
we were like,
Tuesday-
oh
on
yeah.
Tuesday we leave for Rome.
Well, what was the one kid that
Hmm.
wanted his name changed? His last name changed.
Percy Smithers.
Yeah.
Percival Smithers. I hate my front name.
That's true. Also, did you notice too if you're on the Wikipedia page, it gives first and last names for the men except for the supervisor, but for Millie and the secretary, it's just like the first name or just the label.
Yeah, because
Hot-
men get
hot
men
Like,
get
Millie
full
doesn't
names.
get a
We
last
men,
name.
Full names.
Millie's her
Justice
last
for
name.
Millie
Perfect
getting a
hot.
last name. Where's her
Hot Millie.
surname?
Millie computer programmer.
Vanilli.
Millie secretary.
Millie
Millie Vanilli.
Well, I just think it's kind of silly sometimes when it's like,
Silly Millie.
Millie
I don't know.
Silly.
Like,
There you go.
I wonder with screenwriting how I guess that works as far as like developing names. But it's like, I don't know, wouldn't you like want all of your characters to have first and last names? Like
I
to be
suppose with-
consistent, or is it just like
Oh, wait.
Well,
I
you
don't
think
know.
about
I
maybe
got
with
an answer to
Serling,
that.
maybe he didn't give maybe he didn't give last names because like the people that he gives last names to are kind of mentioned in the open close.
I don't give you her last
well, I
name.
can understand that. Yeah, I can understand that. I just think it's like I feel like Millie was in a good chunk of the episode, but then it's
She
like
was.
you could have just given her a surname to be referred to.
Her surname.
guess.
Millie Hartlett.
Hey, maybe they gave him the 2 peso version. They didn't have enough for 5 peso version, so they gave him 2 peso.
Wow.
Mm.
Well, there you go. There's your answer.
What he said.
Sure.
I mean, that seems like
Hey, this is when you know
I will
you
take
made a
it.
joke that nobody understands, even though it's a funny joke.
I'm sure
not
it
from
is.
Florida.
I've had a
Is-
long
is
It's
day.
not a
funny,
Florida
nobody
joke.
gets
It's a
it.
Three Amigos joke.
Nobody
It's
gets
been
it.
ages
It's
since
funny.
I've watched
If a
Three
tree
Amigos.
falls in
I
the
should watch the
forest and no
movie
one is
again.
there to hear
Yes,
it
you
'cause
should.
it makes sound.
That's why,
I should
like
too.
when the Three Amigos mistake the letter, it's because they got the 3 peso version instead of the 5 peso. So he cuts out like words in
Oh.
the telegram. Yeah,
Well,
that's
like,
pretty
it's a
funny.
mail plane. You can tell
Yeah,
by its two balls.
yeah. Tiny.
Two little balls.
I love that movie. Movie's so ridiculous.
Martin
What
Short.
is a plethora?
Do you know what a plethora is, Hefe?
All right,
Guapo.
so
Hefe does not have your superior intellect.
all right. Okay. So with that said, new number 91 is from Agnes hyphen with love. Number 1, Eye of the Beholder.
Who
Number
agreed to that?
140, The Trouble with Templeton.
Wait,
Next
wait, wait,
episode-
wait. Number 116 is a piano. In.
The house.
Oh, come on. Get your balls under it, man.
The house.
There you go. That's what I like to hear.
We're gonna start calling
Agnes
you
would
Agnes.
be proud. Well, fuck you too.
That's all I got. That's it.
You
That's
did good. I'm proud of
That's
you.
all I got. I gotta get up at 5 in the morning. Five sometime in the morning.
I'm so glad
Yeah.
Before the
I
sun's up.
didn't come on when that shtick was made because I don't have that energy.
Yeah. Don't get me started. Yeah. Don't feel bad, Jacob. I have to be up at 6. So,
That's 7
anyways,
my time.
yeah, right. Well, you're getting up at 6 my time, so there you go.
Oh wait, yeah. Wait, no, 6 your time. I don't know. Time. It's
Time,
Anyway.
time is a
It's irrelevant.
construct.
It's relevant. or
Okay, so
irrelevant. One or the other. The word
The ne-
relevant is in there, before it or after. Who knows? I don't know.
yeah, exactly.
It's a construct, and time moves on, man. Moves on.
It's like a TARDIS.
Yes.
It's like a bag
Jacob
in
is
the
a TARDIS
wind.
right now. Okay, so next
A fart in a
episode.
windstorm.
So the next episode is an interesting one. It's one that I've seen many times. I know it very, very well. That I mistaked for Jezebel. Back in the day when we were talking about Jezebel. It's of course season 5, episode 21. It's called Spur of the Moment. It's directed by Elliot Silverstein, written by Richard Matheson. Stars Deanna Hyland, Robert J. Hogan, Philip Ober. Alex, you remember this episode?
I do not actually.
Okay. Well, watch the episode because it's an interesting one. It has an interesting premise and thing in place and time, and yeah, it's a. I don't know if it's a good episode, but it was an interesting one. So,
I remember the whole thing.
but I think I remember. I think Raymond's gonna be on for that episode, so we'll have him on for that. But yeah, we'll look forward to that. And the next one, of course, is Alex's favorite episode. So, Alex,
One of.
no, you said it was your favorite. I can't.
No, I
Sure,
said
well
it.
said.
I said it's one of my favorite. Don't you know what my favorite episode is?
Miniature.
Jezebel.
Okay, so what we've learned today is that Jacob thinks the women in this episode are hot, and Nick has short-term memory.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be fair, Alex, I definitely have short-term memory because what did we just talk about? Anyways, Alex, you have what the fuck is even going on? Your content is, you said you're going to be putting some stuff out here soon, or you have put out stuff. Where's that at?
Both of those things. I guess
There
is
we
a
go.
good way to put it. At youtube.com/Alex Carson. Much of my stuff is like, I guess, just discussions on pieces of media in short and long format. So yeah.
Excellent. And always good Twilight Zone content in there as well. So check that out.
From like 4 years ago. But yes.
You know what?
Relative.
Even your content came out when we started doing this podcast, and Jake wasn't on yet, so it's good content. Jacob, you're half asleep. You don't know where things are right now. You have to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Where do you sell video games at, and where's that content at? where's the content that you do post? Where is it located?
Retro Jake XY on YouTube. Yep. There's some content
Nice.
there that I made.
Yay!
And one day there'll be more. Probably, quite honestly, I've actually got some messages from people asking when I will have more content. It's at this point, if I had to like be brutally honest, probably at the beginning of the year. Like
I'm
that
telling
far
you,
out.
Jacob. I'm telling you, you should strap a GoPro camera to yourself and just
I
post videos from work.
I have thought about doing some stuff from my work. In all honesty, I don't know what and what that looks like, but I wanna fix stuff first, and then maybe have some
Hey,
fun with it.
if a guy can
The guy can
make me
review food from a shower.
yeah. If a
So
guy
I
can
do
enthrall me
anything.
just by making hot dogs from a hot dog stand, you can make videos showing video game crap. So
Yeah.
overpriced video game
So,
crap.
I don't know. Because I'm going into the holiday season. I know it's going to be really busy. I'm going to be very busy. I mean, who knows? Maybe I won't be as busy as I think. But if I had to be brutal, like just like totally honest, it's probably going to be at the beginning of the year. But I want to start strong. Not
Well, good
tonight.
That's
news
what
is
he said.
Gotta
well, good
finish
news is
strong too.
I think Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge is gonna be like the last episode of the year for us. So there you go. Triv,
Yes.
content, places, people, things, logic, reasoning.
Is the answer spam?
Yes.
Okay,
Spam's so
cool.
good, like fried
Spam,
spam.
spam,
Oh
spam,
yeah,
spam.
man.
Yep.
You
So
guys are
good.
disgusting.
Spam musubi.
Versus
Absolutely.
pineapple.
Fried jalapeno spam. Oh
Ooh,
shit.
there you go. Yeah. Yeah, content, spam, etc. On my Facebook, for God's sake, on my YouTube page.
What,
Here,
what about your MySpace? Is it on there?
there was one at one point. There hasn't been in many, 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 many,
Do
many
I still
moons.
have a MySpace?
Yeah, my space was awesome. So here on YouTube, Trivial Theater, I do random, obscure, straight up bad movies. For Halloween, I did Dead Alive / Brain Dead, which is a fantastic, fun movie. I think my review was pretty good of it too. Give that a look. I'm also hopefully here soon, cranking back up into Riff Stravaganza, which we'll probably be doing through the end of the year. So stop by, say hi, etc.
Yes. All their content is fantastic. All of it. Every single piece of it.
No,
Except for when they first started. No,
really? Wow, thanks.
for me, it's been a struggle. I've been very busy at work. I've seen many movies, but I just the drive to post reviews has been difficult, so I don't have too much at the moment. But when I post, it's on Movie Emporium, including this podcast. Hopefully here soon I'll have some reviews, but we'll see what happens. Things happen, people, places, all that type of stuff. So,
Things.
Agnes's.
yeah, Agnes's, Spurs, all that good stuff. Okay. So with that said, I think that'll do it. We're gonna head out back into the Twilight Zone, and for myself, Triv, Jacob, and Alex, we'll see you guys next time. Peace out, guys.
How's your sex life?
Jesus.
What were you doing at Disney?
Parade
He
control
was-
and
he was
Phantasmic
goofy.
control. Yeah, I was goofy. Yeah, I was goofy after a month of working at Disney. Absolutely.
Actually, he used to have really long red hair. He played Merida in Brave. Or
Yeah,
from
he
Brave.
played Brave.
Yeah.
Brave.
And
Wow.
10 years before Brave came out. Working
Hair
at
was
Disney is not all it
glorious.
cracks up to be. So we'll put
He
it
was
that way.
Sid from Toy Story.
Yeah. 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 Oh,
All
yeah.
I could think was Sid the Sloth. That's like, wait a second,
Sid
that
the
doesn't
Sloth.
quite work.
Make him say, na 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 na
What
na
is
na.
happening?